From the fires of the steppe, Timur had forged his first legend. The crippled boy was no longer mocked as weak. He had warriors at his side, victories behind him, and whispers of his name spreading across the plains. But raids and plunder were not enough. To rule the steppe, a man needed more than strength. He needed legitimacy. The tribes of Transoxiana were fractured, but their loyalty still bent to the memory of Genghis Khan. Even a century after his death, the great Mongol shadow stretched over every prince, every Khan, every warlord who sought to rule. No man could hope to unite the tribes without claiming that legacy. Timur was not of that bloodline. His veins carried no royal ancestry, but he was cunning. If blood could not give him the right to rule, marriage could. And so Timur wed into the house of Genghis, marrying a princess of the Chagatai line. Through this union, he took the title of Guragan, son-in-law to the Khan. It was not kingship, but it was a crown of sorts, a mantle of borrowed power. To the world, it gave him a story to tell. To his men, it gave him legitimacy. And to his enemies, it gave him a new reason to fear. Now, when Timur rode, he was not just a crippled raider. He carried the aura of Genghis himself. Banners fluttered behind him. His men shouted his name, and whispers grew louder that Timur was chosen by fate to revive the glory of the Mongols. His enemies scoffed, but his soldiers believed. And belief, Timur knew, was the sharpest weapon of all. Yet belief alone could not silence rivals. Transoxiana was a land torn apart by ambition. The Chagatai Khanate, once mighty, was fractured, its khans weak and divided. Princes and tribal leaders carved out pieces of land, fighting endless wars of pride and revenge. Timur was one of many wolves in this chaos, and every wolf sought blood. His first enemies were not distant kingdoms, but neighbors. Local warlords and tribal chiefs mocked his limp, underestimated his cunning, and conspired to crush him before his legend grew too large. They thought him a cripple who relied on borrowed titles. They believed his rise would end as quickly as it had begun. But Timur was not so easily broken. When they betrayed him, he answered with executions. When they mocked him, he silenced their laughter with fire and steel. When they united against him, he outmaneuvered them. He learned to divide his enemies, to pit Khan against Khan, tribe against tribe, until both sides bled while he grew stronger. Timur's gift was not only in the sword, but in the mind. He studied men like hunters study prey. He learned to see the cracks in their pride, the hunger in their greed, the hesitation in their fear. He bought traitors with gold, delayed rivals with promises, and struck when the moment was perfect. His limp was no weakness. It forced him to fight with cunning, to plan with patience, to see what others could not. But cunning alone could not build an empire. Timur needed soldiers, and so he became a master of loyalty. When his men fought bravely, he rewarded them beyond expectation, with riches, horses, slaves, and honor. When they faltered, he reminded them of his wrath. Cruelty to enemies, absolute reward to friends. This was the law of Timur. Under it, his army grew not by conscription, but by devotion. Men wanted to follow him. Men wanted to kill for him. Men wanted to die for him. Yet still, Timur faced forces greater than himself. From the east came the rulers of Moghulistan, descendants of Genghis Khan, who saw in Timur nothing but a usurper. They marched their armies into Transoxiana, determined to crush the crippled upstart. Timur faced them not with equal numbers, but with greater cunning. He harassed their supply lines, struck their camps at night, and spread fear through relentless raids. Piece by piece, he wore them down, until even the Khans of Moghulistan recognized his strength. It was during these years of struggle that Timur became more than a warlord. He became a strategist, a manipulator, a master of survival. He learned that war was not fought only on battlefields, but in whispers, marriages, and betrayals. He crafted alliances when they suited him and discarded them when they did not. He made promises in the morning and broke them by nightfall. To some, he was a hero. To others, a liar. To all, he was dangerous. But Timur also understood the power of faith. He spoke the language of Islam as easily as he drew his sword. He claimed to fight for God, to defend the true faith against heretics and unbelievers, and many believed him. To others, it was hypocrisy, for he slaughtered Muslims and Christians alike. But faith was not about truth. It was about power, and Timur wielded it like a weapon. Through all this, one vision guided him: Samarkand, the city of turquoise domes, the pearl of the steppe, the place where scholars, merchants, and architects gathered. Timur did not yet rule there, but in his heart it was already his. He dreamed of making it the jewel of the world, the throne of his empire, the city that would outshine Baghdad and rival even the capitals of China. Samarkand was more than stone and brick. It was destiny. Years passed, and Timur grew stronger. He was no longer a petty raider or a cripple mocked in the dust. He was a prince of the steppe, a wolf wrapped in royal robes, a leader who commanded both loyalty and fear. His enemies plotted his death. His allies feared his ambition. His men followed him into fire itself. The ambition of Timur had awakened. The tribes of Transoxiana trembled, Moghulistan reeled, and the whispers spread farther than ever before. The world did not yet know his name, but soon, from Delhi to Damascus, from Anatolia to the Great Wall of China, the earth itself would learn to tremble at Timur the Lame.